Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. This is Tom Lenoble. I'm so excited about my guest today, and I know you're going to really enjoy it and learn a lot. I have Adam Carroll with me today, who is a professional speaker and also the founder of the Shred Method. And we're going to dig in and find out about both of those things from Adam today. Adam, welcome to Opening Pathways.
Tom, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Well, here we are. We made it. And I want to jump right in and get started because we have two things to talk with you about today.
Yeah.
And I want to start with the shred method. Um, um, I'd love for you to tell the viewers about the shred method and how you got started with it. What was the spark that got you interested in the shred method?
Oh my gosh, this goes back a ways, Tom. So I'm going to take you in the way back machine here. I was in the mortgage business for a number of years, and I worked for a division of a company that probably single-handedly caused the subprime mortgage crisis. I did not know what I did not know when I started with them. And after a while, the writing was in big red letters on the wall, what was happening within the organization. But that aside, while I was in the mortgage world, what I witnessed, what I witnessed day in and day out with mortgage brokers who are constantly, pitching people on a refinance of their home was these folks would get into a new loan that just set them right back to zero in terms of their payoff process. And it occurred to me at one point that people were making a lot of money just shuffling paper around. No one was really getting anywhere, but there was money being created somehow, and it was just a grand shuffling of paper. And I thought someone in here is not getting ahead, and it was typically the person who was doing the refinance, who was getting their home refinanced. Sure, they might save 50 or $75 a month, but in the grand scheme of things, it might cost them five or $10,000 in equity to do so. And I really started questioning, Tom, is there a better way to handle your finances personally, particularly in paying off debt, paying down debt? And I came across this strategy known as velocity banking, which is now technically we've enhanced it, we've adapted it, but it's now called the shred method. And for me, it's not just a mindset, it's not just a methodology, it is a way of life for me and for hundreds of people that we've taught how to use the system.
Wonderful. We're going to want to know more about that. Now, I need you to share a little about your professional speaking. And in full disclosure, my viewers, this is a mentor of mine in speaking and gifted. So tell us about professional speaking and what you do and what the connection is.
Yeah, well, years and years ago, 20 plus years ago, I was in a sales role and I was driving around in my car listening to motivational speakers, the likes of Les Brown and Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield and all of the greats, candidly, Zig Ziglar. And someone said on one of the recordings that public speaking was one of the most noble professions because you could change people's lives, you could travel the world, and you got paid really handsomely to do so. And that third one was candidly probably the driver for me, but it really became a passion project of mine to create life gate moments for people. And over the course of 20 years, I started perfecting speaking, and I was watching the masters do their craft, practice their craft, and I realized that the mastery of speaking was what I was really pursuing. Tom, you and I both know that true masters realize that they're climbing a mountain that has no peak. And so it was just this perpetual drive to learn more and grow in what I was doing. And this idea of life gate moments kept coming back to me over and over again, which was I wanted people to say, I heard Adam one time and it changed the way I thought about X, Y, or Z. Or 1 hour with Adam in a room and it totally revolutionized my business or my relationship or how I handled money. And so today I feel really blessed that I get to do the three things that I set out to do. I get to travel the world, I get to change people's lives, and I get paid handsomely to do it. And it's like I haven't worked a day since I started doing this full time.
It's the best. I want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I am sure there are some backstory here. and there were some role models that we need to know about
Hmm.
that got Adam Carroll to be who he is today. Tell us about what's the backstory? Who were those role models?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say right off the bat, my parents were two of the best role models a person could have. When I remember being 14 or 15, and my parents were both in training and development. My dad was part of a company called Excellence in Training Corporation. My mom was an HR director for a bank, both of them involved in training. And at 14 or 15, our table discussion at the dinner table was The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People and The Fifth Discipline by
Wow.
Peter Senge, which was incredibly heady stuff talking about it at the table. And I was kind of bored, probably, but also was paying attention. And my mom was incredibly uh, skilled she had very high EQ. So she was skilled at making people feel comfortable. And she's an amazing hostess. And my dad was really great at reading the room and asking super profound questions. So I learned from each of them. My mom instilled in me a desire to know people well and to treat people well. And my dad instilled in me a desire to ask really profound questions, both of myself and of other people. And I think that curiosity about others has led me to where I'm at today. They were certainly two of my most profound mentors. And candidly, there's another gentleman in my history. His name's Chad Carden. Chad and I met on the road speaking, and he is just this effervescent speaker. He just captivates a room. And Chad taught me, he taught me all sorts of skills in front of an audience. But one of the things he is really, really gifted at is working a room and maintaining the energy of a room. And I love watching him, and I've learned from him, for decades now.
Excellent. Was there ever a time you doubted your vision?
Yes, the short answer is yes. And typically it takes me a while. I percolate on the vision, and once I've gotten it, then I'm really typically confident in moving towards it. I suppose you could say I use a little bit um, of Think and Grow Rich principles. It's definiteness of purpose. Once I know it, you can't divert me from whatever that thing is. But there have been times in my life, Tom, where something occurred, it altered the vision, and I was stuck for 6 to 9 months trying to figure out what the next vision was. So I know that enough about myself that when I'm really clear about what it is, all things start to move out of the way, and that thing that I'm really after comes racing towards me.
Yes, yes. Wise. I'm curious to know what was it like when you got your first traction? Like, how did the first customers come and what was that all about and how did that feel?
It felt hard at first to go out and find the groups of people that were willing to pay me to speak. I remember very, very vividly, Chad and I had been business partners way back when, and we started a company called National Financial Educators. And our goal was to go out and present money programming to high schools and colleges. Um, we ended up booking our very first engagement at a community college in Iowa, where I'm from. And honestly, Tom, it felt like we had figured out the secret code to open a safe, because this woman that hired us, she said, "Well, how much is it?" And at the time, I think we were charging $1,500 or $2,000 for an engagement. And she's like, "Yeah, that seems reasonable. When can you do it?" And I said, "Well, how about next Thursday?" And she's like, "That's perfect. Yeah, just be here next Thursday." So we showed up, we delivered, we had fun, everyone laughed, we had a great time. And I walked away thinking, this is a license to print money. You should not have to do you should not be able to do it this easily. And then we fell into this slump where it was like really hard to book another gig for a while. But I'll tell you, when it started to gain traction was when I realized that if you're really good at what you do and you can put yourself in a room full of people who could hire you, you'll likely create what we talk about in our speaker training, which is a viral coefficient of one, of at least one, where for every one event you do, you should get another. And ideally, in my mind, it was, well, if I go do one and I'm in front of a room full of 50 or 100 people who could hire me, I should get dozens. And from the time we started to, fast forward maybe 3 or 4 years later, we had literally created that. It was every time we would go out, we would get 6 to 10 new engagements out of that. And it led to probably one of my most successful years where I was speaking 75 to 80 times. I was on the road a lot. And then I started realizing, oh, I can craft whatever feel of this business that I really want. It's not about just going and doing everything everyone wants you to do. It's really picking and choosing what are the right audiences and the right messaging. And it's humbly, it's where I've gotten myself to today. And I'm just super fortunate and blessed that that's the situation I'm in.
Wow. What did those early days teach you about trust?
Hmm. Well, one of the things being a solopreneur turned entrepreneur turned, team lead is at the very beginning, it was all about I'm only as good as my word. So if I can't show up when they want me to show up and do the thing they're asking me to do, I won't get that business again. And I think that, there's a lot of folks that, and I've been guilty of this, Tom, where I'm over promising. And part of that is because I wanted to people please. I think that was a byproduct of how I was raised. Um, it became very clear, and I remember again distinctly a point in time where I had missed 2 or 3 appointments in a row where I had told someone, of course, I'll be there. And then I didn't. And I had this like facepalm moment of, why am I not leveraging certain systems to make sure that I am going to be where I say I'm going to be? And to this day, that's one of the things that I strive for. I'm not always perfect at, but if I tell someone I'm going to do something, I'm going to deliver. And
Yes.
and the flip side of that is realizing that there's a lot of stuff I have to actually say no to and say no well to in order to not be in a situation where I've told too many people yes.
Yes, this is an interesting conundrum to be in that sometimes we do have to say no, and
Yeah.
it's not always easy when we're building something. I want to know about a risky decision you made and how it paid off.
Ooh. Uh, it's funny because I'm going to say this was a risky decision. And in the end, it was more of a calculated risk and not, I mean, some people might even say it was somewhat safe, but I wanted to do a TED talk. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And I engaged and enlisted some mastermind friends of mine. And we were talking about it one day. I just said, listen, I think this is in my future, but I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I've never done this before. The two gentlemen I was sitting with had never done a TED talk before. And one of them said, I have an idea. You can throw this out, but what if you just put what you wanted at the bottom of your signature line on your email? And I was like, well, tell me more. And he said, I've seen people do it. I've done it a couple times. Just do a solid double dash line at the bottom of your email signature line. And right, one of my big dreams is to grace a TED stage. If you could help me do that, I'd be forever in your debt. And I did this. And 6 weeks later, having sent, I'm sure, hundreds, if not thousands of emails out, I ended up getting a request from a university that was doing a TED talk. And one of the gentlemen who was on the curation team had seen me present, must have gotten an email and said, Adam, you were the first person I thought of. Would you be open to coming and delivering a TED talk?
Wow.
So that was the first one, Tom. And then, I did it. I was nervous. I thought, this is it. I have to hit a home run on this thing. Prepped immensely for the talk. And then the lighting was bad. The video was bad. Um, when I left, I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I got a little bit of practice. And then 3 weeks later, when I got home, 3 weeks later, I got an almost verbatim email from a young lady who said, Adam, I'm on a curation team for a TEDx event at the London Business School. You were the first person I thought of. And so I got two requests, not one, but two. So what felt like a risk potentially, maybe a calculated risk, turned into one of the greatest opportunities of my life, which was, um, that TED Talk from the London Business School has since gone viral. It has 6.3 million views on
Amazing.
YouTube and TED.com. And I hold that up to other people to say, you never know what the universe and your friend group will do for you when you tell them or ask them what you'd like.
Yes, I think that not only did I, but I'm sure many of my viewers just had a major light bulb moment. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
How do you decide what to hold on to and what to let go of as your work evolves?
This is probably one of my greatest works in progress because just a little bit of full disclosure here, Tom. I think I own 60 or 70 domains. I believe you're probably wired this way just a little bit, where you have a great idea and we go buy the domain thinking we're going to build that business. For me, there's a little bit of uh, well, to give you context, there's a book that I read every year. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And it was written by a guy named David Cameron Gikondi out of, I believe he was out of Kenya. And in the book, David says, listen, all of us should have a goal list of our life of well over 500 goals. And when I first heard that, I thought, well, that seems a little much. But his point was that every time you write a goal down, you are creating that reality in a different dimension. Just the mere process of writing your goal down has already created that reality, that circumstance. And now the goal is just to bring that reality closer to this reality. And so when you ask what do I let go of and what do I keep hold of? One of the things that I'm constantly thinking about is someday I would like to do this. So I'm going to hold it. It's going to be in reserve. This is on the someday maybe list. And I think it's in a reality that I'm just not quite there yet. So, admittedly, I'm probably bad at letting go, but I'm really good at changing my focus so that that will someday get it. But right now, this is what's in front of me.
Yes, you never know when one of those domains somebody's going to call and say, I'd like to buy that domain from you either. So
Exactly.
never know when that
Exactly.
might happen, right?
And I've
What
bought some really good domains, Tom. Like
I bet you have.
I own a domain Succeed Faster. And when I first bought that, I thought, no way is this going to be available. And lo and behold, it was. I own Mastery of Speaking and Mastery of Money. It's just amazing some of the ones that I've procured over time.
I think another light bulb moment here today, viewers. What values are non-negotiable in your organization?
Um, I'll tell you the one that comes to mind right away is curiosity. And there's a reason for it. Some of the work that I've done in organizations has been around leadership and culture. And specifically, when I get hired to do culture work, one of the things that I will often tell people when they ask me, well, what is it you do? And whether it's money or it's personal leadership or it's group dynamics, I think I'm a behavioralist. I love studying human behavior. And what fascinates me beyond all recognition is why do people do what they do? What is it that drives folks to behave a certain way? And curiosity is one of those things that in every organization that I've done work in, when I say, let's stop for a minute, because you're getting furious and I want you to get curious. Furious will take you in a downward spiral energetically, and being curious takes you in an upward spiral energetically. And so within organizations, that's one of the values that I will say, let us, I mean, it's Stephen Coveyisms, right? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Even if we immediately want to react, a response is much better timed with help me understand how we got here, or tell me more about this scenario, and the more I use those questions, crazily enough, the more successful I become when I ask those questions in a room. And I
Yes.
think sometimes it's because no one else is asking them. So that
Yes.
is that is definitely a core value. And I'll tell you the other one that I think is a non-negotiable in companies which is a core value of mine, and I think probably virtually everyone else, is family. And so when I hear someone say, "Oh, my kid has a thing, but I've got to work," in the company that I'm building and many of the companies I've done work in, what I'll say is family important. Yeah. To what end? What will be sacrificed so that someone can spend time with their family? Because if they're away from their family and they're doing work and they resent the work or their family resents the work,
Yes.
they will not be, you will not have their heart. You may have their head, you may have their hands, but you will not have their heart at work.
Beautiful. Wise words here today from Adam Carroll, as usual. How do you balance being a leader with being a learner?
Mm. This goes back to the curiosity value, I think. And again, I go back to the mentors in my life, my parents. I watched them read all the time growing up, and I became a lover of books. My dad had a massive library of self-help and personal development type books, and I would pick those out and I would read them. And so I loved learning. I loved reading those kinds of books. Today, I very rarely read fiction. It just does not, for whatever reason. Hopefully, there's a time in my life I do, but I very rarely read fiction. And what I love about reading nonfiction is it's like getting a $15 degree from someone who spent 30 years of their life and then compiling it into 200 pages. And so, how do I balance being a leader and a learner? I think part of the reason that people see me as leading is I can quote and recite and pull from works that I've consumed and have learned this from great people like yourself too, that when you attribute the education or the learning to something else, this is not me saying it. This is,
Yes.
this is David Cameron Gikondi, or this is Peter Senge or whomever. There's something about that people go, I like the fact that you're well read or well rounded in what you know. Um, and I would never take that for granted. But I think it's just been historically what I've loved to do. And for whatever reason, I read something and it just sticks with me and then I can share it.
Yes, you do, and you do it well. I know I see a lot of times where people will read a business book or from one of these leaders, and they, instead of letting it filter through them and expressing it, they try and emulate it, which never works. You're not
Right.
that person. You didn't have their experience. You can take lessons from it or things you learn and put them through the filtration system and express them in your own way. And you do this very, very well. I want to know, what is Adam Carroll's boldest vision for the next 5 years?
It almost brings a tear to my eye. My boldest vision for the next 5 years, I I will continue to do what I love to do, Tom, which is speak and motivate and inspire people. Um, I will do that through and as a byproduct of the software company that I'm building right now called the Shred Method. And my bold vision 5 years out is that we have bare minimum 10,000 people that have been going through the system. And I think I'm probably even shooting really low. I think it could be 100,000, could be a million. But my vision for this is that not only are we helping people create freedom and flexibility in their lives, but a chunk of the profit that is made through us doing that will fund a not-for-profit organization that will help those who maybe can't necessarily get out of debt easily. We're going to show them the path of how to do that and help them do that. And I just want to lead this nationwide, potentially worldwide movement of people building a bigger life, not a bigger lifestyle, so that they can actually enjoy their family and their friends and, travel and all the things that we should be so fortunate to experience instead of the, work hard to come home at night, to crash into bed, to get up and do the exact same thing day after day. I just don't think we were wired for that, but our society has created a little bit of that. So my bold vision is I'm going to see a shift. And maybe like Steve Jobs, I want to leave a ding in the universe. Mine's just going to
Yes.
be a financial ding.
Yeah, a bigger
Yeah.
ding than you've already left. Viewers, I want you to take time to go learn about the shred method. It is a way that you take something that is really holding you back and turn it into something that you use to your advantage and make life easier with clarity, grace, and ease. So please go check it out, the shred method again. Adam, when things get tough, what keeps you inspired?
Mm. What keeps me inspired? I am grounded, I think, and supported, inspired by people around me. The idea that we are the average of our five closest friends has never been lost on me, and I try and surround myself with really inspiring, creative, driven, motivated people. So those moments when my grandfather used to say, whale shit at the bottom of the sea, as low as you can possibly be. And it does not happen very often to me, but I've had it in my lifetime. I surround myself with those people. And they're really, um, it's an amazing thing when you can create and curate, I would say, a group of people who know exactly what to say and how to be there for you when you need it. And I've been really fortunate. I have multiple mastermind groups, and all of those people are the people I would say, this is my tribe. These are the folks that when I am at a low point, but I go spend time with them or surround myself with them, make a phone call to them, they are there to help me get through the process.
Yeah,
So it's other people, Tom. That's the simple answer to that question.
love this. What are you most hopeful for the world today?
I heard this was on a radio program some time ago, and it was a young boy. I want to say, I may be misremembering this, but I want to say it was a young boy who was interviewing the Dalai Lama, and somehow the idea of religion got brought up, and they were asking the young boy, what is your religion? And the little boy said, my religion is love. That is the only religion. And so what I'm hopeful for is that we get back to the idea that we are all human beings. We are all one group of people on this earth. Um, I'm hopeful that the division and the animosity across the aisle goes away, and that someone shows up to lead in a way that's inspiring and motivational and loving. Um, I know that person's out there,
Yes,
and I would love for them to step up when the time is right. Um, because I think that's what the world needs. We don't need someone who's all about what's wrong and tearing people down. We need someone who says, "Hey, we have challenges, but we also have some of the smartest people in the world
yes,
who would love to find a solution." And our goal is to find those folks and put them in the right seat and create change that can
yeah.
that can help everybody.
We're far, far, far more alike than we will ever be different. And
Mm-hmm.
I hear your words and I hope and pray that what you just said comes true. I
Thanks.
want to know what you would share with someone just starting on the path today, somebody that's thinking of founding something or
Mm.
maybe being a new leader. What would you share with them? What advice would you give them?
I heard this just the other day, and it was so profound for me, Tom, that I think I'll stick it in the file that will be used over and over and over again. They said, don't think about what do you want to do, for a living? What do you want to do to make money? Instead, ask yourself the question, who do I want to serve or how do I want to serve? And I think there's a lot of business owners, I was one of them, that my only intent was to make money. I mean, if I could do this and I could make money, it was golden. And the fact that I got to impact people's lives was just gravy. It was a cherry on top. But the fact that I was making money was really the heart of it. And then at some point in time, I realized just the making of money is actually kind of boring and nonsensical. If we're not helping in some way, shape, or form, where is the passion in selling a product or doing something that okay, I make a living doing it, but it doesn't impact the world. And so for someone starting out, I would say two things. Number one, who do you want to serve? What is the business you're building? What is it there to do in terms of service to the world, humanity? And number two, I would say get really clear about what your core values are. Why do we show up every day? And we did this as a team with the Shred Method. I've done it with organizations when I'm doing leadership consulting with them. If it feels like the organization is rudderless, 9 times out of 10, there are no cohesive core values that have been co-created by the entire group. So there's shared ownership. And I think if I'm a new founder, I'm going to get my team together once a year and say, we're going to review the core values. Who are we? Who do we say we're going to be? And how do we live that up to that every day? And when that happens, I mean, it's a little bit, Patrick Lencioni used to say, if you could get everyone in a boat or in a company rowing in the same direction at the same time, you could dominate any industry against any competition, any market. That's what the core values piece is. So if you know who you serve and you know why you show up every day to serve them, I think that's some of the best advice I could give to a founder.
Wonderful. You know, if your younger self was watching this podcast, what would you say to him?
Don't use Suave shampoo. That's what I would say, Tom. No, I'm kidding. I would say, yeah, what would I say to them? Bald is beautiful. Don't worry about this. No. I would say to my younger self, um, don't hesitate on making the decisions you know are right. And I say that because there was a long time that I would pause, and probably still do to this day, but I would pause so long on making a decision because I was trying to make the right decision. I was trying to get a feel or the information I needed to do it. And one of the sayings I'm fond of is don't spend a lot of time trying to make the right decision. Just make a decision and make it right. And as a young person, I think I spent a lot of time trying to make the right decision instead of just making a decision and making it right.
Wow, Adam Carroll, this has been a great time with you. We're going to have to do a part two, I know that. And listeners, this is one of those that you'll want to rewind and listen again and maybe again. Adam, tell us one last time about you, the shred method, your professional speaking. What would you like the viewers to know as we close today?
Well, first off, Tom, I really appreciate the opportunity just to share this and spend time with you. You are a profound question asker and a deep thinker and just someone I admire tremendously. What people need to know about me is I'm a dad of three amazing kids. I'm a husband. I'm an Iowan at heart. You know, I'm from the Midwest, so I have those roots. But what I love to do is I love to help people figure out a way to live the life that they were meant to live. Not the one society says you're supposed to, not the one that you've been roped into by marketing, but it's living a life on your own terms. And through both speaking, you know, my education platform where I go out and present to various groups about money psychology and human behavior, and even the shred method, where we show people how to use banking tools that are available to almost everyone, but in a very unique cash flow mechanism that allows you to rid yourself of debt to create massive equity and wealth in the meantime, and ultimately create freedom and flexibility, the likes of which most people don't think they can reach until they're 60 or 65. And we're helping people do it in their 30s and 40s. Um, it thrills me to no end when I get a 20-year-old, 25-year-old, because I'm like, you have
Yes.
no idea what your 30s are going to be like, and you're gonna live the best life ever from this point forward. I love to do this work. It is a passion. I don't know that I could ever quit it. And I think when you're doing something that you can't ever see yourself not doing, you're probably in the right place. So I feel fortunate to be in the right place, right time with the right people, Tom.
Thank you. I remember the time I paid off my first mortgage, and I don't think there's ever been anything that was quite as liberating. And
Yes.
People tend to think that is really impossible. We go into a huge debt and think there's no way out. And viewers, I think you look at the shred method, you'll find there is a way out. Adam, I'm sure I would be remiss in not mentioning that you and Patty Aubrey and Molly Rose Speed teach something called the Speaker Launch Pad. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love if you'd share something about that with my viewers because it's a powerful experience. Share a little.
Yeah, this was a brainchild actually. And I want to say we did this 8 years ago. We started Molly Rose Speed and I, who she has been a dear friend and a close associate of mine for the past 12 years. We started receiving a lot of questions from people about how do I get started? How do I hang a shingle, if you will, or create a one sheet and start marketing myself as a speaker? And we had crafted and curated all these different modes and methodologies of not just marketing but creating content and the back end logistics stuff like contracts and invoices. We had built all those systems, and we thought, well, why not start teaching this to people who really want to do it so that it doesn't take decades or a decade and a half like it did me to really get to a point where I felt super confident I could go secure 6 figures of speaking business, on January 1 and not worry about it. We love the speaker launchpad process, which is a 3.5 day training. Tom went through it. We've had multiple cohorts go through. And the beautiful part of this is we get to take people who have a message they want to share with the world. We show them how to craft that message in such a way that it's not only meaningful, it's saleable, and it leads to additional business down the road, depending on what your business model is. And then we teach how do you market it? How do you sell it? How do you close it? And how do you make sure that in the meantime, as you're speaking, you're building a mailing list of folks who will hire you again and again. You're creating content for the future and for social media. And ultimately you get to do the one thing that I think is the coolest part of this business. And that is that you get to make your vocation your vacation. So
Love
that if you
that.
want to travel and see the world, do it. You want to go to Orlando or San Diego, go to Vegas, go to Switzerland at a conference, we'll show you how to do that. But it's best if you have a program you can go deliver to do it. So, yeah, Speaker Launchpad is near and dear. We're going to continue doing it 2 or 3 times a year. And it's just been an absolute blast, Tom.
Love this. Make your vocation your vacation. That's a quote to remember. Adam Carroll, thank you for being with me today. The Shred Method and a professional speaker, as well as the Speaker Launchpad. Thank you for being here.
Tom, thank you. I appreciate you so much.
And to my viewers, this is Opening Pathways with Tom Lenoble, and I'll see you next time.